It's number 79. 79 in a row. Weedy Weekend, your week in cannabis news with your hurtin' hippie Gord Birch. How you doing all? I hope you're doing well. It's Gord here. I just said that. Let's start. I'm already pre-gamed. My son went home, not even my weekend, but I had him for a couple of days. I went home just a few hours ago, and so I've been a little wallowing in self-pity, so I brought myself out of it. This is a new just ceramic piece that I got, nice little hammer. And in it is some Tora Bora from MMJ Total Healthcare. Couldn't do this show or any of my shows without them. Peace and cheers to MMJ. And let's get on with it. We're starting with a position paper or a fiscal considerations paper as filed at the House of Commons. I'm going to put it here. I'm not going to read it all to you. 60-some pages with a whole bunch of considerations at the end. I'm going to read you the part that bothers me the most, but it's the part that doesn't surprise me in the least. I'm sorry. The federal government had said that 2017 would be the year of legal cannabis. Quote, this is from the executive summary of this fiscal considerations paper as filed. The legalization of recreational cannabis will introduce an entirely new sector into the formal economy. Given the government's intention to regulate and tax this new sector, legalization will create new government revenues and expenses. Legal sales of recreational cannabis may begin as early as January 2018. May. So that's saying at the earliest, another whole year. And then we start getting into possibilities of election cycles and everything else. I think it's ridiculous. It's a good paper. It is well thought out. They definitely are looking at trying to price it to ensure that it's priced where it can do the most good by removing the criminal element as much as possible. There are some really good figures and studies that have been done. I do suggest reading this. It gets you up to date on where we are as a nation, as it goes to costing, taxing, what considerations they're putting in. I am a little bit impressed by this paper. It's well done. I saw nothing in it yet, and I haven't completed it, that says it needs to be that far away. They're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, therefore create all these new taxes when really it could just be absorbed in sales taxes. Typical liberal, make the government bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You can bet at the end of it you'll have a minister of cannabis and a whole ministry under him that just does nothing except for make some people feel better that it's being managed. I had another toke on you. Cheers. We'll move on to the next story. The next story is a wonderful one, all around the same idea of Canada legalizing cannabis. This is the world should legalize cannabis. Many world leaders and Richard Branson, which can be considered a world leader, he's definitely a multi-billionaire that's out there and always been the voice of cannabis for the rich and the elite, are coming forward saying that these old draconian ways of handling a substance, any substance, is wrong. And it's time to bring it into the health sector. I'm going to quote this because I really, really like this. And we're going to cheers a lot to it, so cheers. After years of denouncing the dramatic effects of prohibition and the criminalization of people that do no harm but use drugs on the society as a whole, it is time to highlight the benefits of well-designed and well-implemented people-centered drug policies. That's from former Swiss President Ruth Dreyfus, chair of the Global Commission on Drug Policy. She also said, these innovative policies cannot exist as long as we do not discuss honestly the major policy error made in the past, which is the criminalization of personal consumption or possession of illicit psychoactive substances in national laws. The report also calls for states to abolish the death penalty for drug-related offenses, implement alternatives to punishment, and explore regulatory models for all illicit drugs. This is the beginning of that stomp forward for this medicine, and behind it, following the recreational people that can enjoy the medicine as well. It's a beginning of a huge movement, and I love to see it happen. I really do. Let's move on to the next story. Sorry, I'm dealing with a little anxiety today. I'm a little low on my CBD pills, trying to stretch them out a little bit, and I've realized I shouldn't do that because it's managing my anxiety really well. Let's move on. The next one comes from Leafly. Denver is becoming the first U.S. city to allow cannabis in bars and yoga studios and restaurants. I'll quote, "It is the sensible thing to do," said Emmett Reistoffer, a Denver marijuana consultant and campaign manager for the measure. "This is about personal responsibility and respecting adults who want to have a place to enjoy cannabis." I agree. And if you go on to read this, it goes on to say that you need the agreement of your neighbors, anybody that might be affected. The smoking or partaking has to be done outside where it can't be otherwise taken in by other people, unsuspecting, unknowing. It's a pretty good start. I mean, I was joking with my son the other day. When you watch game shows like these bigger ones, I watch Survivor. When you watch Survivor and they have a reward and they say, and there'll be wine. I can imagine in 20 years when this finally gets all incorporated and all of the crap goes aside, it'll be so second nature. Because what about non-drinkers, eh? It'll be so second nature on a show like Survivor, they'll say, and this reward is for a night of some cannabis-infused juices and some really good Maui Wowie. The world's going to change. Oh. We got some noise, but it'll quiet down really quick because I'm busy doing my video. Okay. Let's move on to the next story. Sorry, that shook me up. But this doesn't have a pause. Some of my other programs have a pause. This one doesn't. This is the one I use for this. So I deal with what I deal with. Now, let's look. The next one comes from time.com, which I'm unimpressed because I found a spelling mistake just looking through it. Time.com, spelling mistake. Anyways, looking for answers about marijuana's potential mental health benefits, a team of researchers in Canada and the US recently conducted a review of the science. In their report published in the journal Clinical Psychology Review, researchers found evidence that cannabis can likely benefit people dealing with depression, social anxiety, and PTSD, though it may not be ideal for people with bipolar. It's an interesting study as to cannabis and mental health. I've been talking a lot about anxiety, about depression. I deal with both. I deal with both on a constant basis. And if not for cannabis, I would not be smiling right now. It's a tough day. So this is good for all of you. Some of you have been commenting that you're starting to share these stories like with your parents or with a sibling that's going through something. I hope you do, because the more we realize the benefits of this medicine, how it can help us in our familial situations, the better, the better. Let's move on to the next story. And the next story from Leafly, how does cannabis help depression? What a segue. Okay, I will read this. Cannabis has been used to treat depression throughout history. In 1621, English clergyman Robert Burton recommended its use in his book, The Anatomy of Melancholy, while doctors in India during the same period were actively using it to treat their patients' depression. Cannabis is a faster working alternative to antidepressants that stimulate the endocannabinoid system and speeds up the growth and development of nervous tissue with little to no troublesome side effects. The natural remedy offers patients peace of mind and battles stress by enhancing mood, providing energy and focus, relieving anxiety, inducing hunger, and combating insomnia. It is so true. I always feel better after doing a weedy weekend than I do before, because I medicate with you all while we're going through it. What else do we have here this time? In the Yokan Torch, we got a little bit of blueberry distillate and some of my own pre-98 Bubba Kush rosin. Cheers. Let's all battle that depression. You know someone with depression, send them this story. It truly, I so wish I had known all of this. Yes, I've been smoking it for 44 years, but I've only been on the medical side of it for a couple. Had I known this 8 or 10 years ago, I'd be on a different path right now. I'd be on a better path, probably. Next story comes from herb.co. Herb. And it's all about fibromyalgia and how cannabis can help. In fact, cannabis is probably the best medicine. Some people just don't understand the pain from fibromyalgia can be debilitating. For those who suffer from the illness, it can seem like nothing will help alleviate the symptoms. However, cannabis has been shown to reduce inflammation, target specific areas of pain, and due to the reduction in symptoms, allow for more mobility than previously possible. I totally agree. I've been battling this fibro for 8 years. Only in the last year and a half have I gotten rid of the cane and walked more. And that's because I got off the anti-inflammatory pharmaceuticals and got onto CBD and THC. Next story. Let's move on. And we now have from herb.co again, pain management for pain management. Let me read the title. How about I zoom up to the title? Wow, it's a big story. Cannabis and injury. How does weed help in pain management after surgery? Specific to those who have had surgery, this is really good, but I'm going to quote a piece here. Reducing inflammation relieves the pressure on nerve cells. Fortunately, cannabis has powerful anti-inflammatory properties. The herb reduces inflammation in a couple of distinct ways. It switches up signals sent by the immune system and directly engages cell sites on nerve cells. After an injury occurs, the immune system triggers a pro-inflammatory response. So, very interesting how it's really good for after surgery. Again, the future. When you read these things and you know they're true, you can just see in the future, people after surgery will be on a cannabis regimen. I'm positive of it. They're going to get a lot of the things that people don't like out of it unless you want it in it. Do you want that with the high or without, you know? And our last story of the day from Leafly is how marijuana affects the brain. This one is another really good story. Talking about the endocannabinoid system, why it's important, what it does with the brain activity, goes into the CB1 and CB2 receptors, how they react with each other and talk to each other. Therefore, CBD THC entourage effect, very important. I've kind of zoomed through. Usually when it's a weedy weekend, when I'm getting high with y'all, usually the stories go a lot slower. And I've been 30 minutes, I've been more. This one's only 15 minutes, but I'm finished. So, Weedy Weekend is done. Peace and cheers, love and harmony. We'll see you next week again, and we'll see you all during the week too. I hope to have some more reviews coming to you soon. Cheers.